The man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Robinson has a warning for America. Do not let what happened to the UK happen to you as well. He is on the Patrick Bet David podcast, and he, breaks through exactly what's going to happen and why you should prepare. Check it out.
So Muslim population in EU from 84 till today, EU total, 84, 6 million, 2004, 13 million, 2025, 25 million. So they went 6 million, 13 million, 25 million today. They're doubling every 20 years. They'll be at 50 million in 2044, and then 100 million in 2064. Let's go to US. US 84, 1.2 million, 2004, 2.35 million, 2020, 24, today, 4.5 million. We're doubling every 20 years. We're at 4.5 million. Let's go to Canada. Canada, 8,450,000. Then they went to 600,000. Then they went to 1.8 million. They're 3xing every 20 years. So Canada's competing as well. But why are so many people afraid of them? I keep asking this question. The UK is a very proud country, at one point financial capital of the world. Everything flowed through you. You guys were known as the power, the empire. Why are they so afraid of this community that's completely destroying their identity?
It's a mixture of things. It's a mixture of fear, but it also illustrates the power of political correctness. The power, and this is what Americans really need to get ready for. Because I see a lot of frustration coming out of America to do with immigration over the years for Hispanic immigration. And I'm sitting thinking, you've got no idea. Your borders have just been opened by Biden. It's changed. You know, you had Mexican immigration for so many years. I wish we had Mexican immigration. Yeah? When the Polish come to the UK and people are moaning, I think, what are you moaning about? Well, because I'm from Luton. Yeah? They're hardworking. They're Catholic. They're family orientated. There'll be some teething problems like there were because my mum come from Ireland, but they will be proud in the end of their country and they will assimilate and integrate. But you have just allowed open border mass immigration to 8 million, 10 million, however many have come through your borders. And the numbers is the biggest problem. And you've now had Syrians, Somalians, Pakistanis, Afghanis, and all you have to do is just basics. Just look at the way they think in those countries, and don't take Tommy Robinson's opinion. Look at Pew Research, any of the top research things. 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law. Their views on homosexuality, their views on free speech, their views on all the things are alien.
Their views on the Jews, because you can't forget about that. And a lot of people don't think about when Muslims come to the West and they impose these very Nazi-like views about the Jewish people, and they spread it around. And that's why you're seeing a lot of this rise in anti-Semitism. If you're looking around, you're like, what happened? Well, they came and they are currently manipulating the West to become as anti-Semitic as some of these Muslim countries are brought up. Just look at what Ayaan Hirsi Ali says about it. She talks about this all the time, how she grew up in a Muslim society and they taught her that Jews were like freakish devils and pigs. That's what they taught Ayaan Hirsi Ali as a kid in a Muslim Islamist country. So yeah, so when you're thinking, oh, why is all this anti-Semitism happening, that could be a big reason why.
To ours. And the problem is, once they come in and come such a powerful vote bank, like the numbers you just went through, I looked at numbers for Manchester. So in Manchester, we had the terrorist attack at the Ariana Grande concert. When I looked at those numbers, they had 25,000 Muslims. 10 years later, 50,000. 10 years later, 100,000. So you said they're doubling every 20 years, right? In Manchester, every 10 years. Yeah. Now, 100,000, if that becomes 200,000, and 10 years later it becomes 400,000, there's only 500,000 people live in that city. Now, 50% of the British public don't vote. 50% do not vote. They're disillusioned. That's us, the working class. We're fed up. Most people say they're not rich enough or poor enough for it to make a difference. But the Islamic community, and I can only talk from experience of Luton again, yeah? At the time, when I last looked at it, 2011, we had 19 mosques at that time. Now, the leader, the mosques have one leader. They come together as the Council of Mosques. That leader sits down with the Labour Party, your Democrat Party. They sit down and they do a deal for the vote. And they do agreements and they give them concessions and they agree things. And then from that one meeting, they get 40,000 votes. Now, when we were challenging, when we had Luton, we were challenging the council, we were challenging everything that's happening. And my leader of my council, her name was Hazel Simmons, she just looked at us when I went to meet and she said, there's not enough for you. Sit back. Well, we don't care. There's not enough for you. And that vote bank becomes so powerful. and the appeasement and the numbers as we talk about how big is the problem. If you look now, you've seen this whole thing blow up recently, first week of January, which was about the rape gang scandal. Yeah, I've done a 5-part series. As I said, we formed this organisation in Luton, the English Defence League. We challenged this extremist terrorist group. We followed them. That was our tactics, was to follow them, confront them, highlight them. When I started doing that, I visited towns and cities across the UK, and I had families crying. I mean, like some of the experiences I've had to meet one father in Blackpool. They took his daughter. I mean, literally, people's daughters are being taken across the country. And the police. This may sound so insane to an American audience. The police are allowing it, facilitating it, accommodating it. The government know, the police know, religious leaders know. There's a conspiracy.
How is that possible, though? Because when you say that to the average person, they say, okay, what is the incentive?
Yep.
Is it a money play? Is it blackmail? No. Is there do they need to vote? It's not like they're voting. Are they good for the economy? A Pew Research 2021 report says that 41% of Muslims ages 16 to 64 are economically inactive, compared to 24.7% of overall population. Inactive. They don't work. They don't contribute to society. They're out. 59% does. So, but there has to be something where one says that's why they allow them to do whatever they want to do and they can get away with everything. What is the motivation? How are they winning?
Well, we can only go off what the research is. So when I first come out in 2009 with the English Defence League, I sat on a show called Jeremy Paxman, Jeremy Paxman was the most fierce presenter for Newsnight, the biggest political debate show. And I remember when I went on there, and everyone was excited who are the English Defence League oppositions, because they said he's going to crucify me, he's going to finish me, because they viewed me as uneducated because of the way I speak and the way I talk and my background. America don't understand the class system that goes on in the UK. The working class was supposed to just shut up, basically, yeah? And we're not allowed to have an opinion. And I remember going on there with Jeremy Paxman, and I sat there, and I tried to explain to him that our daughters are being picked up outside schools by large groups of Pakistani men, kidnapped. And none of these videos have aged well for them. And he sat there, he said, you expect us to believe, like many people might be thinking now, you expect us to believe that this is being allowed to happen. So let's fast forward to 2015. For 5 years, I've gone around the country. I was on about the father in Blackpool. I can give you hundreds of these examples. The father in Blackpool, they take his daughter. When they take his daughter, the father and the son, Muslim father and son, they're both raping her. They ring him. So the father is getting a phone call. It's his daughter being raped. He has to listen to his daughter being raped. He rang me this is 2010 I first met him. I think it was about 2015. I'll get emotional thinking about it. I think it was about 2015. He rang me up. She's back. She's back, Tommy. I've got her back. 2 kids later. So this is going on across our whole country, yeah. And when that's going on, we're fear-mongering. Remember, we come under immense attack. And Rotherham, you've heard of Rotherham? So Rotherham is the scapegoat city for these gangs. It's where they allowed the story to come out. And it didn't come out to 2014, 15. I was sat in prison. And breaking news, what happened is a journalist called Andrew Norfolk. And the reasons he gave was he had known for years, this is his words, not mine. He had known for years that these gangs were operating, but he was too scared because they were all Pakistani men and all the victims were young English girls. And he says it was the far right dream. So why are you even thinking about politics or anything, yeah? He said it was the far right dream. So he was too scared to report on it. Then saw the emergence of the English Defence League. Now,
this is such a good point. The left always does this. They say, well, if we put out the identity of the shooter, the far right is going to go crazy with it. The reaction is going to go, it's going to be wild. Well, something terrible happened. Something terrible. Things are happening that are terrible. And you're worried about the reaction or the backlash. People will withhold a shooter's identity. And there might be more shooters or more people of that faith that are committing those acts because the far right might respond. People are so scared of the far right response that they'll avoid going and publishing a shooter's name or a terrorist attack and who committed it. That's obviously crazy. Now, at the same time, there's terrible, far right radical people that come out of the woodwork, mainly because the media isn't straightforward, mainly because people aren't speaking the truth to begin with. Because they try to silence it, yeah, then people are like fed up and they start, becoming very, very far right and radical, and have radical views of that specific either religion, race, ethnicity, etc.
We're very vocal. We've become a household name, not just in the UK, but across the globe within 12 to 24 months. And what that organization was young, determined English men who weren't going to back down. And we traveled the country. And remember, I knew it was never going to be female nurses or doctors that stood up against these gangs on the streets. Because when you stand up against them, violence, threats, intimidation, police raids. So the organization forms. Across the country, there's been a conspiracy of silence in every town and city. So many high-ranking people now have dirty hands who have hid this crime. We're on the streets. We made it impossible. 5,000 men charging through the streets with signs that our daughters are not halal meat. If you listen to the videos, I give a presentation in Russia. I had to go to Russia because my free speech was taken in the UK. I gave a presentation called The Rape of Britain, where I went back and I showed English Defence League forms here. If you want to see a graph of the arrests for these Islamic rape gangs, the graph just goes straight like this. English Defence League forms in 2009, 2010, 2011, boom, through the roof. They could no longer hide it because the world's media were coming to our demonstrations. Our speeches about they're raping our daughters, they're taking our kids. Then Muslim pedos off our streets you've got five, whereas people had been whispering about Islam, it's too scared to talk about it. Overnight, you had 5,000, 10,000 men screaming about it. And it was a catalyst across the country. And I then realized what I've seen in Luton. Luton's just a blueprint for every town and city. And I realized, geez, this is coordinated. It's happening across the whole country. I'm sitting down with families and they're crying their eyes out. His daughter's been missing for 3-4 days. And they're going to the police and not getting any help. And all this was unbelievable. And fast forward to 2014, 2015, this big study come in the city of Rotherham. Rotherham has a 3.7% Muslim population. 1,400 children they found that had been raped, there'd been murders. But in that city, the investigation found the police knew it was happening. They were too scared to tackle it through fear of being branded racist. So say that out loud. This is where you need to understand as the United States of America, that the Democrats, because remember, many of these Islamic immigration will end up in Democrat cities. They will then become that powerful as a vote bank. And that's what happened in many cities across the UK. That the political party care more about the votes and power than they do they'll sacrifice the kids. And that sounds insane. But when you look at the numbers, so Rotherham, 3.7% Muslim population, 1,400 children had been raped in that town. When that come out, and the study come out, some of the examples, Patrick, two dads get together. Their 13-year-old daughters are in a house, 10 Pakistani Muslim men raping them. The dads turn up at the house to get the kids back. And remember, this is not me. Read the report. This is not me saying it. The two dads go to get their daughters back. The police turn up and arrest the dads. They leave the girls in there. Another example, an 11-year-old girl's in a derelict house, an abandoned house. 5 Muslim men are sexually assaulting and raping her. The police turn up. They arrest the little girl for being drunk and disorderly.
I saw that one.
They literally allowed this to happen.
How though?
How? But
How are they so scared when things like when you start doing this to kids? Who is not at the top? A prime minister, the royal family, the most powerful people, who is not sitting there saying we can't tolerate this?
No, not just can't tolerate it. They celebrated everyone who covered it up. Not just, and that goes to the rule. So when all this blew up, 2015, people are realizing, oh my God, everything we were saying was right.
So I think that Patrick Bet-David is underestimating the allure of power. At the end of the day, Muslims vote in a bloc. So that means that you get the Muslim vote and you basically say X, Y, and Z about Islamic immigration and you're good, versus the Jewish vote, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. You do something good for the Jews, you'll have half the Jews against you. So you do something good for Israel, forget about it. It's not going to be good. You're not going to get a lot of votes. Like Trump learned that, he was the most pro-Israel president, and he got maybe a little bit more Jewish votes in 2024 than he did in 2020 and 2016, but nothing crazy. He didn't get more than 50% of the Jewish vote. So it is pretty wild. And, versus Muslims, pretty much all, you say something good about Palestine, or you say that, Israel doesn't deserve to exist, or globalize the Intifada, and you're going to get elected. And Zoran Mamdani understood that, and that's why he didn't shy away from his Jew hatred. He's like, Jew hatred is popular nowadays. I'm going to globalize the Intifada. Let's go. And seemingly hasn't faced any backlash. Nobody said, no, this guy can't be mayor. I mean, the Republicans are saying that, but the other parties aren't. And so what Tommy Robinson predicted just a few months ago on the Patrick Bet David podcast, or even a month ago, is coming to fruition. You have anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, pro-Muslim voting blocs that are taking over New York City and basically electing this Muslim, socialist, jihadist that doesn't have moderate views about Islam, or doesn't have moderate views about Palestine or Israel or Gaza or globalizing the Intifada. He really believes that Israel and the Jewish people are a problem. So it's coming to fruition, and hopefully he is wrong about the fact that we won't be able to get ready in time, and hopefully Americans will stand up and not stand for this. But maybe, just maybe, we will go the same way as the UK, in that we will slowly but surely be taken over, just demographically wise. And again, I want to reiterate, it's very simple. If a bunch of Westerners went to a Muslim country and said, we're taking over, we're imposing our laws, and we are going to slowly have more and more kids in order to kick you out, obviously that would not be allowed. And so therefore, I don't think it is so crazy that in the other direction, we should be allowing other people with different values, that don't value democracy, that don't value our laws or our structured government, into the country. I think that that is normal to say, no. If you're not going to respect our country, we are not going to allow you into it. For more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. You can also go to our channel memberships page and join there as well. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.